What's up, you guys? Welcome to another video. Now, I just needed to get on this story because I wanted to talk a little bit about media manipulation and what is causing the major divide in the US today. Now, story has broke out a couple of hours ago that there was a police officer who was killed at the US Capitol. Man rams his car into the police barrier in front of the Capitol, hitting two police officers. Unfortunately, one of them by the name of William Evans has lost his life. Rest in peace, and my condolences to his family. The other one is injured and is at the hospital. Now, this attacker jumps out of his car, runs at police officers with a knife, and then gets shot down himself. Now, I'm guessing that maybe this guy had a death wish, maybe he was suicidal or what have you. There have been further news as to the motive as to why he committed the crime. Now, the initial report that I saw from CNN was very different from the initial report I got from them rewind 3 weeks ago when they were talking about the massage parlor shooting in Atlanta, Georgia. When that happened back then, they were quick on their first report to reveal the full name of the guy as Robert Aaron Long, so you can easily Google and find out that it is a white person. Now, on Twitter, a lot of people just carried the information that it was a white supremacist and that this guy was just an Asian hate crime and that white people are responsible for all Asian hate crimes that we are seeing in America, or for most of it, and that it is a white supremacist problem. Now, I am not a supporter of white supremacists, but I don't think that white supremacist is the problem that America is having at the moment, regardless of what people wanted to say. Now, at the end of the day, we saw Kamala Harris talking about Asian crime or Asian hate crime. Why? Because at that point in time, she is an Asian. She's no longer an African American at that point. She's a Asian American because she represents whatever BIPOC color you need her to represent at certain times. Sometimes she's an Indian American and what have you, but I digress. Getting back to the story at hand. So now a lot of people were talking about it until they find out that the police chief gives the real motive of that particular killer, that he was a sex addict and he was delusional as well and wanted to cure himself of his sexual addiction. So the story changes and somewhat dies off. Nobody's talking about it anymore and they've moved on. Although we are still hearing about the stories of people like George Floyd till today, Breonna Taylor, and what have you. Now, I'm not saying that the police have their clean hand when it comes to the Breonna Taylor issue. I'm just saying that when certain stories fit certain narrative, they continue to push it. But nobody talks about Tony Timper, who died in the same circumstances as the circumstances of George Floyd. Maybe even worse circumstances, because he was the one that called the police to come and save him from himself, but ended up dying in the same circumstances. You can Google about it and find out. But once again, I digress. Getting back to the story at hand. Fast forward a week after the Atlanta shooting, there was another shooting in Colorado. The first response, the first report that CNN gives, they made sure that they said it was a white man being carried away with a bloodied leg by the police. So they also pushed that narrative once again. And of course, Twitter exploded with woke leftists saying white supremacists were responsible. Well, both stories did not age well, because the very second story, the name of the person, the name of the shooter who killed people, came out and they saw that it was an Ahmed Aliwi Alisa who committed the crime, a Syrian American who actually practices Islamic studies and what have you. Now, I'm not trying to blame it on what he practiced. I'm just saying that these people could be having some mental issues or delusional, or have been kind of like radicalized one way or another to actually commit the crimes that they committed. But what is important here is that he is a non-white person that actually killed 10 white people. Now, the moment that information got out and he no longer fit the narrative, they've swept it under the rug. And this particular information, when CNN first revealed and released it, not just them, MSNBC and the rest of them, the mainstream media, they actually were also pushing this narrative for people to come to their own conclusion so that people can think about this. Now, what I want to say about this whole thing is this: CNN or whatever, I've been talking about CNN, but I'm talking about mainstream media in general. They thrive on propaganda, and what sells now is the propaganda, anything that they can use to favor black people over every other race, or more like to demonize white people. That is the propaganda that is going on. But now we are finding out new information, and this is the update that I wanted to update you guys, that the killer that I've been talking about, Noah Green, is a huge Advent supporter of Louis Farrakhan. Matter of fact, fact, his social media post shows that this guy believes that Louis Farrakhan is Jesus Christ, and he believes that Louis Farrakhan's mentor is kind of like God, who is still alive today, Elijah Muhammad. And he also goes by the name Noah X. He believes that Louis Farrakhan has saved his life, and he believes that the #1 hashtag enemy of America is the US government. So these could be motivations that has led him to actually commit this crime. We don't know about it, but they're not talking much about this. In matter of fact, if you want to get this information on CNN, you really have to read the article way down below, because it doesn't fit the narrative. And also, if you go on Twitter, this was the trending topic for the first 1, 2, 3 hours of when the situation happened, but right now it's no longer the trending topic. It has dropped to number 2 or number 3. Unlike those other information, or unlike those other mass shooting, they were trending for a long time on Twitter and on social media until people found out more information. Now, what is the reason for me telling you this? What I believe is this: mainstream media thrives from propaganda, and they know that they thrive more from leftist propaganda. The leftists want you to believe that there is something like a systemic racist problem happening in America. I'm not trying to say that there aren't any racists in America. There are racists in America, as there are in every country in the world. But what I am saying is that these usual talking points that they usually push in mainstream media, they're pushing it for a certain agenda. They're pushing it to push propaganda so that they can gain. Now, the Democrats, who are the leftists, or they support leftist agenda, they piggyback off this because they can use this to benefit themselves, because they use it to garner the support of the minority. And when you add all the minorities together, the people that are now being categorized as BIPOC, black, indigenous people of color, you can get a lot of votes from these people. You can garner their support, and you can use it to stay in power, because people will consistently vote you because they feel like the problem that they are facing, you guys are the ones that understand it. So that is the benefit from their own perspective. Now, when it comes to the woke leftists who are pushing this agenda and this narrative, these people are pushing agendas that are causing more division than they should actually try to bring people together. They want you to see racism. Critical race theory teaches you to see race, to see people by black, by white, by color, by this, and they want to categorize every instances and situations that happen into one identity politics, or one identity narrative or the other. So now there you have it. Media manipulation, because media manipulation will thrive on identity politics. The Democrats will thrive on identity politics because it helps them stay in power. And the woke left has a narrative to push because they want to be relevant. They want there to be a problem for them to continue to solve, so that people would look onto them to solve social problems where these problems do not actually exist. The real information out here is that these things that are happening, they are coming from every single race. They are not specific to one race. Now, I sincerely believe that we need to stop this. We need to be pushing this information as much as we can, so that people can open their eyes and see the real truth, that they are getting manipulated by mainstream media, and they're also getting manipulated by these so-called woke lefts that are pushing agendas that are pitting people into various identities according to race or creed, or some kind of like an gender identity issue, as it were. So basically, I just wanted to let you guys know this is the update. This guy that committed this crime, Noah Green, was maybe an extremist, but he's somebody who has been in one way or another kind of like radicalized, and somehow mainstream media tried to protect his identity until other sources, other smaller sources, medias that people would not really look onto, started publishing the full truth. So my advice to you is that whenever you get information, before you go out there on Twitter to start reacting and defending something or pitting yourself against those things, find out the full information. Hence the same reason why I waited a couple of hours, so that I can get the full information on what is going on and let you guys know about it. Anyways, you guys, let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. I want to thank you for watching this video. Hope you guys got something from it. If you did, please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, ding that bell for notification, and I will be catching you guys real soon. Take care, have a happy Easter, peace, and Sire's out of here. Catch you guys on the next one.